Hi everyone. Namaste from India and very good morning to everyone. Uh, I think we can start this session now. It's already time. Dear esteemed colleagues, distinguished guests, and fervent advocates of sustainable fashion education, I'm both delighted and honored to assume the role of session chair for this significant discourse of GFC 2023. As we embark on this intellectual journey, let us weave together innovative ideas, shared experiences, and visionary perspectives to shape the future of fashion education. Together, let us unravel the threads of possibility, designing an education landscape that stitches sustainability into very fabric of our fashion industry's future. So very, very warm welcome to everyone over here, and let's start the conversation. So before we start this session, I would like to introduce my all four panelists over here. I would like to start with Lindsey. She's the reader in fashion marketing and sustainability at Glasgow Caledonian University and has a PhD in ethical consumption and consumer psychology. Her research and teaching focus principally on sustainability and social impact through branding, marketing, and digital communication. She's the principal investigator for an Erasmus-funded project, which is based on strategic partnership, investigating sustainability for fashion businesses, and engendering employability skills in this area. We also have Kirsti Andersen. She is an associate professor at Danish Royal Academy, Architecture, Design and Conservation, and the co-founder of Honest Fashion. In her research, she explores challenges and opportunities in transforming organizational practices towards sustainability. With a particular interest in the textile and fashion industry, her recent work investigates the role of local textiles and fashion production in creating more sustainable textiles and fashion value chains. Kirsti had extensive experience in the development of online and blended teaching material for students and practitioners. With Kirsti, we also have Esben Pedersen. He is a professor at Copenhagen Business School. His research mainly focuses on business model innovation and the operationalization of new management ideas into everyday organizational practices. This results from his research has been published in various national and international journals. The research has received international recognition, like including Emerald Outstanding Paper Award, Emerald Social Impact Award, and so on. Kirsti and Esben will talk among their online pedagogies on sustainable fashion. And last but not the least, we have Emanuela. She is a professor of sociology of culture and communication at School of Political and Social Sciences in the Catholic University of Milan. She teaches subjects like sociology of communications, media planning, material and culture studies at the institutes like COMES and LECOT and so on. She's also developed a curriculum in communication management for fashion and food. She's the director of PhD School in Sociology. She's also a co-founder and former co-editor of International Journal of Fashion Studies. So very, very warm welcome to everyone. And I'm sure, we'll all get great insights after this conversation. So I would like to start with Lindsey. And I just want to know about the project which you're doing, which is Erasmus funded project. Apart from what you explained in this project, I also want to now know about what was the most important thing in this project, and do you think what are the needs which you have addressed through this project? So just want to know that. Over to you, Lindsey.
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much, Sonika, for that very nice introduction to everybody and to this webinar. And just to say, I'm delighted to be able to share the the project with you and to be able to talk with such eminent other academics about this area of education and sustainability. So I don't have any slides to support my kind of my talk, but as it's a discussion, then I thought I would try and just give the information, and then maybe afterwards there can be some questions, etc. If there's something that needs to be highlighted. So Sonika, you kind of asked me like quite a big question, a long question. So maybe I'll break it down a little bit and
Sure.
and start off with just saying a little bit about the project itself. So it was a 300,000 euro project strategic partnership, as you rightly pointed out, which was awarded in October 2020 and which has now just finished. I've just submitted the final report on it. And basically it was related to the understanding of the nature of sustainable activities within companies, within fashion companies. But the difference with this project was that we were not kind of trying to describe what sustainability means or what what activities they were, but more the employability skills that were related to these activities. We had 5 academic partners, ourselves, GCU. We had the University of Madeira in Portugal, 2 universities from Spain, Politécnica de Valencia and Villanueva, 1 business school from France, EDEC Business School, and these were the 5 academic partners. But the important thing about this project was that we had 2 very committed industry partners who were Harris Tweed Hebrides, and I think Mark Hogarth was just on before us in the plenary session, so he was part of the project as the creative director of Harris Tweed Hebrides. And we also had the commercial director from Tendam Retail Group in Spain, which is a very large retail fashion group, which is not so well known in the UK because we don't have any retail outlets here, but they have a lot of retail, one of the biggest retail outlets after Inditex in Spain and globally in Europe. So as you can see, we had 2 ends of the industry. We had a very small circular economy representative, which was Harris Tweed, and then we had the global fashion retail group represented by Tendam. And that was invaluable because the whole point about the project is that we have a representation of the whole industry and not just focusing on one area. It involved up to 90 students, academics, industry partners, and what we did was we had 3 kind of week-long industry visits, workshops in 3 different countries. And what we did was we visited companies, we had workshops by experts, etc. And the point was to find what the employability skills were, underneath the sort of activities and what we were seeing actually in industry. What we created was outputs, which was a white paper, a toolkit which has up to 30 exercises related to examples and tools and presenting the tools and skills linked with sustainable practices. And all these outputs are available, open resources available at the website, which is sfes.eu. So that kind of in a nutshell is the project itself. In terms of why was the project important, or what were the needs that were addressed? I think sustainability kind of needs to be addressed in all contexts and all industries now, and it's not just a fashion industry, but the fashion industry does have a reputation for being a big player in terms of its environmental impact, especially when we look at carbon emissions, and poor working conditions. That's the reputation that the industry has in terms of its impact in terms of sustainability. The point is that it's also a huge global employer, and it's a very kind of balance between the sustainability aspect of it, but not reducing the industry to nothing, because obviously we would lose a huge amount of employment areas, amongst other things. So basically, the project looked at best practice, the companies that were implementing sustainability, and what we found was that for me, the main thing as a PR that came out of it was a lot of companies, especially in the fashion industry, are very scared about this issue because they get issues related to social media, etc., from consumers, from lobby groups, etc. And it's kind of like, at this stage, black or white. They're either sustainable or they're not. And what we found was, and what I think is kind of the message that I would give to educators, etc., as well, is that the implementation of sustainability for the fashion industry is on a continuum, and companies can say, well, we know we're not there yet, but we're starting, and this is what we're doing to get there. And I think we have to be, as educators, and have to be very careful not to show that dichotomy in terms of good and bad when we're talking to our students. And also, I think about viewing sustainability as an innovation for companies, which can help them to implement in areas that they haven't done so before, and which also is not profitable, because obviously they still have to be profitable. So I think these are kind of the main kind of needs that were addressed, and kind of big things that came out of the project.
So, what did you want to achieve by implementing this project?
Okay, so obviously there was a kind of an understanding of what was happening in the industry in terms of best practice, what was already happening out there. Although we weren't kind of trying to tell people what to do, we were asking them what they were doing and determining what employability skills were related to the areas and the best practice that they were implementing. In terms of what we want to achieve, so we wanted to do that for the project as a whole, but obviously the outputs were very important to us. So the production of the white paper, which identifies the employability skills, and the toolkit, which can help educators to kind of implement or to disseminate that information in their learning context. But most importantly for me, I think, was that we were creating sustainability champions in all the people. So not just the students that were on the project, but the staff and even the industry partners, and who were going to be able to carry forward that immersion in an understanding of the knowledge of sustainability, and which is hugely important for the students in terms of their future employment, but also the understanding, like, for example, what I discussed about the companies being in a continuum and not, getting away from this kind of right and wrong and black and white situation with sustainability. So I think that that these were the areas that I think are important, and that we wanted to achieve with the project. But that was a developing issue. It wasn't something that appeared at the beginning. It was really something that developed as the project went on.
Lindsey, while I was reading, the project brief which you had shared with me, so you mentioned about white paper and toolkit. So can you throw some light on that? Because probably as a layman, we don't know much about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the toolkit basically presents, I think it's up to 30 activities, lesson plans, case studies, and basically it's to help educators to underpin them when they're going to be talking about sustainability in the classroom or in a learning environment. To give the educator a kind of toolkit, something that they can use to illustrate the points that they're trying to get across. So it ranges very much for each. What we did is we designed the toolkit and the white paper according to the key areas for employability, which we determined were the design aspect of, fashion, raw materials, supply chain, and production. And for each section, we have tools that will help. So, it can be something as simple as listening to a podcast, or it can be, something reading a case study that was developed by. So all the materials were developed by the project team. And when I talk about the project team, I don't mean just the staff that were on it. It was us and the students during the 3 years who worked on all these different areas, which makes the project very collaborative and rewarding, but also challenging, as you can imagine.
Yes, I was coming to that only, so, obviously, you have done intensive research and you found out, some ways out of it. I just want to know, if we talk about like present day, fashion education, how much percentage of this can be implemented there? Just a tentative thing.
Yeah, I think it depends. And the other thing to think about is kind of transversal as well. Just because we did this research in the fashion industry doesn't mean that you can't use it within different areas. I think what can be implemented, it depends on what the educator is looking to to talk about, or which areas they're focusing on. I mean, as I said, like, for example, if you're going to be focusing on the supply chain, it's very different to when you're looking at design and kind of the skills related to that. But what I think was what came out of this project as well is the way in which we went about creating the outputs, which we called kind of like the 3 I's, which was international, intergenerational, and interdisciplinary. And what we kind of developed was teams within the project, the wider team, smaller teams who were working in different areas. And within each team, there had to be people from different cultural backgrounds. There had to be people who were from different disciplines. So we had, for example, within the team, we had people from environmental science, from communication, from marketing, from game design, and from production management as well. So it meant that all these people could bring their expertise in addition to all the industry partners. And intergenerational, what we meant by that was that it was people at different levels. So, for example, the commercial director of Tendam was in a team with students, and their input was as important as his. And so kind of the implementation of the format of the project, I think, is very very transversal as well in terms of the result from the project, as much as the tangible results like the white paper and the toolkit, if that makes sense.
Yes. You were talking about the major challenge which we face, especially as far as sustainable fashion industry is concerned, is the loss of employability. Because if you talk about like Asian countries, there are many people who are dependent on this kind of employment. You mentioned that you're also working on some kind of employability. So would you like to share some kind of examples on that? What kind of employability can be generated when we talk about sustainable fashion practices?
Yeah, so these are just examples that came out and that are available in the kind of in the white paper and in the toolkit. So for example, areas related to industry regulations, because now we're getting, especially in Europe, we're getting a lot of regulations in terms of the industry, and having people who have some background in law, etc., who can understand these regulations, who are going to be able to comply with them. As an area that's that has developed. Obviously, digital skills are in terms of the design, etc. Digital skills are now kind of run of the mill, but they're developing all the time. So keeping up to date with these digital skills, being able to do things like calculating the carbon emissions of different production processes, which means that you can assess the life cycle of the garment. You can measure it. People who are able to do that. The other thing is about it's following a little bit like the food industry. How the food industry then became kind of obsessed about the origins and the production methods. So now the fashion industry is kind of following on those footsteps and getting processes which are going to enable the consumer to be able to understand where the origins of the makeup of the garment and its production, its supply chain, production processes, etc. So there are so many areas, and these are developing very, very fast. Already things have moved on, and the project has just finished. So kind of understanding all these different, these different areas are just examples of the kind of area employability skills that we looked at. But there are many more if you go to the white paper and the toolkit.
Yeah, I'm sure this is going to be an endless discussion, and I think I'll leave the rest of the questions to be asked by the audience.
Okay, thank you very much.
And with that, I would like to move on to Esben and Kirsti. And if you have a presentation to share, probably you can go ahead with that.
Thank you. Yes, I think we'll skip the presentation of ourselves because you did it better than us. So we'll just want to start by saying that we have, of course, done a lot of research on sustainable fashion. And already early, we had a focus on, let's say, trying to disseminate some of the results. So, for instance, almost every year up until the COVID-19 pandemic, we had an annual event, at least one annual event where we presented our findings or did something special. So, for instance, for a number of years, we were at the Roskilde Festival, which is this huge music and culture festival where we basically brought fashion companies, policymakers, and so on to the festival and talked about sustainable fashion and took them to the fashion shops available at this festival. So we have at least tried the best we could to actually make our knowledge available. But in this presentation, I think we'll talk particularly about the work we have on online education. It basically started with all the research that we have done on sustainable fashion, because at one point of time, we decided that we needed to bring the knowledge to life, so to speak, and bring it out to a new audience. So that's why we, and especially Kirsti, has been very active in developing online content on sustainable fashion. I think it started with a case study, but then it kind of quickly evolved into something else. So maybe Kirsti, you can say about a few words about this.
So I think one of the things, so maybe I can talk a little bit about the motivation behind it. So we were we're in a business school. I used to be in CBS as well. I just recently went to the academy. But we've been told all the time that we need to get the knowledge out there, share our findings, discuss it with the business. And the academic papers, of course, are that's kind of the hard work, and that's the starting point for the dissemination. But it felt like with these academic papers, you reach, if not limited, then at least a quite specific audience, which is not necessarily actually the people who we want to reach, or also want to reach at least. So therefore, we started exploring other opportunities, and we have a third collaborator who's not here, Anna Diaz, and she has a background as fashion designer, but then she's basically educated herself within communication and fashion, or research communication in specific. So with her, we, amongst other things, we did this project, Sustainability for Schools, which was a project we did with the Copenhagen municipality and 3 schools, public schools, in terms of trying to find ways to integrate sustainability teaching in the curriculum in 7th to 9th grade in Danish schools. They need to teach sustainability at the schools now, but they don't really have much material and they don't have much time to prepare. So you're also dealing with teachers who not necessarily have a lot of knowledge about sustainability. So you need to give them something that's kind of plug and play, or easy to use at least. And then we learned through a couple of other events that fashion is a good way to start talking to young people as well. And in 7th to 9th grade, they actually start, in the Danish context at least, to have a bit of money. So they start making buying decisions themselves. So we found it was a really good topic to engage students in questions of sustainability as well. So that was a super fun experiment, and the material is there. It's in a beta version, so it's not fully functioning. It's not so smooth always, but there's actually a good collection of material in the website. And then in 2019, we launched the Sustainable Fashion MOOC on Coursera, which is the main reason that we've been invited here to talk today. We'll dig into that. When a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, maybe it's only 1 year ago, we launched this business model for sustainability MOOC, which is also on Coursera. And it's Coursera because CVS has a partnership with Coursera. It's an internationally recognized platform. The courses that we make are all free, open access, so that students don't have to pay to access the material, which is also very important for us. And then it's, instead of building it on our own website that nobody knows of, it's nice to have a publisher for these courses as well. And here, if I dig a little bit into what the MOOC is, it's quite, so when you work with Coursera, they basically give you a format, and then you can be a bit creative within that format, but there is a framework to work within. So we have, you could say that most of the content are kind of focused on these videos. So we create, for this one, 6 modules, and then a final module, which is the final project for those who want to do that and want to get the certificate. And then within each module, we have between 2 to 4 videos, and then we support it with texts that all need to be open access. So nothing behind paywalls, nothing that you need to have a library account to access. So it needs to be open access, which is one of the, what do you call that? When you're working with Coursera, it all needs to be open access. We do a lot of, so we script these lecture videos, which is kind of the theory, and then we exemplify everything through interviews with companies. So we have, you could say, cases for all the theory. And we always try to find companies who are willing to talk to us about their process, and also maybe the things that were a bit difficult, what they didn't succeed or didn't succeed with yet in their sustainability journey. Because we believe that we learn as much from what didn't work as from what actually worked. Yes, so I think, yeah. Here we have a short video, but I think you'll skip that because we don't have much time. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about the statistics.
Yes, you can see that there is some kind of patterns that we can see in the data. I think one of the good things about Coursera is actually that you can get some insights about who's actually using the material, and also what are the profile. And I think that is kind of an added incentive for doing these activity, also because we, of course, Copenhagen Business School, and we want to be, international and so on. But I think we all experience, at least when kind of implementing this and developing this, we saw that we reached another audience, and we saw we could reach an audience across the world much more than we can do here. I think that's actually maybe on the next slide, that if you look at our course, we have reached a lot of people in India and United States. And I think I got some data from Copenhagen Business School previously, which says that I can't remember if it's less than 1% of our students at Copenhagen Business School is from India. But when you actually look at our course on this MOOC, it's actually the biggest group of attendance we get from India and so I think this is very much aligned with our agenda to actually get out with our research results and reach another audience. Also because if you talk about traditional research, a lot of our, let's say, conventional findings in journals and so on, it's people from other countries do not necessarily have access to these library databases, so they will never get the knowledge unless you have something else to offer, essentially. I brought this with me because there's also certain pushback you sometimes get when developing, new things, the new online material. One is that some people kind of think that it's kind of cannibalizing a little bit on your normal education and teaching, which I don't think is true. In fact, both Kirsti and I have used the content from the MOOC actively in our own courses. So I think that is kind of a false rumor or misinformation, if you can call it that. I think another kind of common critique is that it takes away, time for research because it takes extra time to do it. But I think one of the good things about doing this MOOC and doing it on Coursera is also that we have actually been able to take the insights from the course development and actually turning into research. For instance, all the students are supposed to write a short written assignment about an organization of their choice. And we were basically able to access all this information. And not only did we get a lot of good insights about cool cases around the world, we also could use some of these insights actually to write this article that was published last year, 2 years ago. Could you say a little about the work in progress?
Yeah, so well, first of all, actually, this MOOC was the first out of the MOOCs that we've done. So now I just launched another one on another project. So it's kind of our baby that's now becoming bigger, partly because we've been contacted by UNICATT. I don't know how you pronounce it, but the Portuguese university. If we can do collaboration to also create a Portuguese version of the same MOOC, basically to reach a larger audience, which is fantastic for us as well. Not least because in Denmark we have close to no production left, but in Portugal we know there's a lot of production, so we're hoping to maybe go visit at some point as part of developing this new MOOC. We also in the process of doing a update of the version that we launched in 2019. So this is one of the things with these online courses. They, of course, also to keep them relevant, you also need to work with the material. So we're keeping, of course, we don't need to change everything, but we're going to update with some new videos and a new module. As Esben was talking about, it's a springboard. We really see it as a springboard for new research and teaching. I'm very interested in blended formats of learning. I've been doing some further education targeting Danish fashion brands, the Danish textile industry, and it can be quite hard to pull them away from work to actually come attend programs in a school, where the blended format has some other opportunities in terms of better fitting into people's everyday work, and maybe in that way also making it more relevant to their own work. So I think the blended format is super interesting. And then also we realized when we launched this MOOC, as you saw maybe on when we showed the graph before, there was a big peak during Corona. Everybody was home. It was just about then that we launched our course. So that was lucky for us, because it really had a lot of learners during that period. And of course, it dropped afterwards. Now we're hoping to create another smaller peak, but with the update of the material. But what we realized is that there's actually quite a few people out there who want more material, more accessible material, which was, you could say, encouraged us to start Honest Fashion. That was also mentioned before, which is, it's a startup, but it's a platform through which we want to develop and offer cheap but highly qualified and research-based educational material on sustainability transformation, targeting the fashion industry. Because it's our experience that there's actually there's a lot of people out there who want to know more and want tools and knowledge, so we're hoping to develop that.
Oh, thank you very much, Esben and Kirsti, for that presentation. And I got overwhelmed when I saw India on the first few experiences you had. And I remember that time because it was a COVID time, and we made it compulsory for our students to do these courses. We collaborated with Coursera, and even faculties and the students, everyone, it was like compulsory for do this course. So thank you very much, both of you. And before we start with Emanuela, I would just like to tell participants, if you have any questions, please start typing that on Q&A section. So that we can take them towards the end of the session. So over to Emanuela. And Emanuela, please, I think, when I was reading about your profile, and I think you hold such a big, bag of experiences. So I'm looking forward to hear from you about your project.
Okay, so thank you very much, Sonika, and thank you to all the audience and the organizer of the conference for having me. Actually, I'm speaking about research project funded in the framework of Erasmus Plus higher education section. And so I'm the official scientific coordinator, but I work very closely with many other colleagues. Some of them are also in the audience of this conference, like, for instance, Silvia Perez-Beu. And I would like to share the responsibility of this, or at least the pleasure of this presentation, with a colleague of mine in Milan, Silvia Mazzuccatelli Salice, who was in charge of the coordination of the didactical experimentation of the modules I'm going to speak about. The responsibility is not her about the presentation, it's just mine, as I worked it by myself. So I'm going to speak about this Erasmus Plus project, which is devoted to fashion and food synergy for sustainability, new course and innovative digital tools in higher education. As you see here, there is something a bit different from what we heard before, which is that we try to develop common knowledge about how to teach and learn about sustainability for two supply chain, we could say, two sectors of material cultures, which are fashion and food, that we see have always more elements in common. Something is coming from what also Lindsey mentioned before, which is that in some way fashion learns from the food sector how to deal with the sustainability issues, with the materiality, the material processes, the production processes in its supply chain. Fashion learns from food, but on the other side of the supply chain, at the last stage on the supply chain, in some way, food is always more learning from fashion, how to develop the aesthetics and visual elements that are always more important also for the communication and delivering of food items. And so we discovered that there are always more convergences among two sectors, which are also evident because of partnership between companies and brands in both sectors trying to have a foot or some business in the other one. So this is the reason why we worked on these two sectors. The partnership in this project is composed of 4 universities, one in Italy, mine university, then one in Spain, one in Poland, and one in the Netherlands, and 4 other partners who are working in social entrepreneurship and capacity building for work and business and professionals. The objectives of the project can be considered in like 3 main, which is update skills of BA and MA students to the actual and perspective elements in the sustainability in fashion and food. The second one is adapting university courses and teachers' practices to the trends emerging because of the convergences in these two sectors. And the third one, developing community competencies about the convergences in these two sectors by transferring contents, methods, and tools from academic education to the community. This is because one of the milestones in the background theories about this project was that the urban economies are always more focused in developing fashion and food, and also sustainable aspects of fashion and food in their urban economies, in fact. So also this transferring of competencies, like a sort of trickle down of contents and modules, is the third part of the project. The project is organized around 4 areas of work, which are connected to 4 outcomes. The first one was a glossary of sustainability that we developed in the first months of the collaboration. As one of the points for us was that the word sustainability and the vocabulary about sustainability has been a bit overused and needs probably sort of polishing or cleaning or refining or much more specification. And so we tried to just to find 6 areas, and as we will see here: production, value chain, general concepts, policies, distribution, and communication. And for each of them, we wrote all those entries, but the glossary is open access, is in open access, uploaded in the site of Cult, the research center that promoted this project in Milan, and is always under construction. So we welcome, we try to develop by ourselves in the partnership, but also we welcome collaboration with other organizations in order to expand it. The second outcome was a list of case studies which are thought for focus attention on companies, startup, association activities that are trying to develop very innovative products or services in the field of in the area of overlapping between fashion and food in the perspective of sustainability. And we gathered more or less 10 case studies that then we use also in the central part of our project, which is the designing and refining of 6 learning modules, which are those presented in this slide. The 2 written in blue are those that we have already designed and also experimented, and now I'm going quite soon on telling you about the experimentation. So the 6 modules are organized around aspects that are, in our opinion, those which are most important. And when I listen to Lindsey, I see that, and also the other 2 colleagues, I see that, of course, the topics are topics which are, of course, considered very central in all these making sense of sustainability for fashion, and in our case also for food. General aspect, the challenge of sustainability, then the focus about circularity, so the processes, then the point about the footprint of the global supply chains, then the topics about the responsibility, then the communication issues, and a last module about questioning data and new trends. And then the last outcome, which is at the moment also under developing, are training modules for the community. Here, we didn't know exactly how to transfer the contents elaborated for an academic community, which are undergraduate or postgraduate students, and in a collaboration which was mostly a collaboration among teachers and professionals devoted to develop work in these areas, how to transfer in a nice and fresh and catching way contents to the community and to different kind of targets. And then we are at the moment also not so sure about who are the new and wide targets we want to address. They could be businesses or public policymaker or other actors working in the wide urban economies or urban administrations. At the moment, we are on our way to create and testing some short seminars or webinars where we try to trickle down the contents we prepare for the academic modules, and we would like to experiment with some selected audience in order to understand how to better this outcome. How did we implement what we did until now, which is the glossary, the case studies, and the two first modules? We organized a couple of workshops, like an international learning experience that we offered to students of three of the involved university, Cattolica, Navarra, and Radboud, while Jagiellonian in Poland experimented the modules with their students. As one of the main issues in experimenting in a cross-national perspective is the organizational issue, of course, which is putting together courses which are organized and given in the frameworks of the different national or university rules and semesters and criteria. So any module was thought as 20 hours of tutored study activities. 5 of them were hours in class, in presence or remote, but guided by a teacher, and 15 hours of independent study activities to be carried out in group or individually. The workshop provided to the student participants a certificate of attendance, but also a digital European open badge for assessing the micro-credentials they obtained. And for the students from Milan, where we experimented the module, we granted also the 50% of the final grade to our students. Here you see the participation of students. We were quite successful, as in the first module, the challenge of sustainability, we were able to involve 76 students and 93 students in the other one. And as you see, we had very few dropouts during the course. As you see, most of the students came from the Italian course, which is Comma, is a degree program, undergraduate program called Communication Management for Fashion, Food, and Material Cultures. Probably we were able to involve more students as we were directly in charge of the experimentation, and so we were able to put the experimentation inside 2 courses to teaching that were taking place officially in our program. The experimentation was in a couple of months, in March and April 2023, and had weekly activities. That was the team working. The first one was the teaching team, and this one is the background team. The learning journey was with a platform, within a platform which is not the most friendly platform of the world, which is Blackboard, the didactical platform that we use at Università Cattolica. And any activities, any module was organized in different units. Any units had one lecture. This is the first one given by Anneke Smelik. Some knowledge clips and other materials like tests, readings, visuals, and so on. I go very quick toward the conclusion, and probably now I'm going to go away from the presentation. Actually, the main problems we had were of two types. The first one was organizational, as you can imagine, experimenting and then trying to think of the development, the official implementation of the project on an international basis offers problems that I already mentioned about the different style of organization in the semesters, in the activities, in the duration of the courses, and even in the meaning of the ECTS awarded by different university. This is something that we worked on quite a lot, and we were able to find some accommodation, I could say, some solutions. But then we had also another point, which is probably the most challenging, as all this stuff is challenging, as also Lindsey said for her project, but this is challenging as well, which is we developed these modules all together with our colleagues, and the materials and the contents, the knowledge was the knowledge and the expertise of the different teachers involved in the project. Then, of course, the materials are thought to be open access for everybody that would like to use these modules in the future. The point is that most of the materials are organized around logics that could be difficult to be shared and used by people who didn't take part in the design of the modules. So something that we are going to develop as well is a very detailed guideline book for teachers. But then something we have to work on is something that, in my opinion, was included in the main goals of this project. One of the main goals of this project was to develop a common knowledge, a common expertise, a common vocabulary, a common set of concepts about how to teach about sustainability and the changes about this great area of sustainability. And in this perspective, the project was for the universities involved, for the groups of scholars involved, a success. We exchange and we develop really a common knowledge. Now the challenge is, and this is ongoing actually, the point is how to make this common knowledge matchable with the expertise of other teachers and with the different teaching styles of other people who have not taken part in this project. But as also this session today at the conference seems to have clear, which is that we need to collaborate to share what we develop in all these contexts. We have to find ways to create matches and to bolster and to promote exchanges between different countries and different scholar groups. And so this is a question that I ask other colleagues here in the panel, but also the audience. What we discovered anyway is that we thought of modules made of 20 hours, but we put inside too much things, and now we are going to downsize the quantity of work, and this is one of the main things. But then the point is, again, how to help teachers to use the materials, combining with their own styles, with their own way of thinking.
Thank you so much, Emanuela. I think that was really, really insightful. So Sylvia is saying thank you to all the participants, and she's saying it was very interesting. So yeah, again, thank you very, very much, everyone, Emanuela, Lindsey, Kirsti, and Esben, for sharing such insightful thoughts. And I'm sure, everyone among us, being, whether we are in the academics or whether we are in the industry, I think all of us, this is a high time that all of us have started thinking about sustainability. And there are few, key takeaways which I got from all four of you, which I would like to reinstate, and I'm sure you'll agree with it. It's all, taken from your like presentations and talks. So I think partnership is the key thing which we all, I think, we're looking at, and we all know that, if more people are working on one common factor, I'm sure the results are going to be, completely different. Another thing which I got a hint, from your presentations and your discussions is, I think traditional practices has a lot to offer when it comes to sustainability. I remember, like I keep telling this to my students also, that whenever we look back maybe 20 years down the line or 25 years down the line, our households were, had a lot of practices which were based on sustainability, like how to use garments or how to use fabrics or how to use like even a small single thing from your household. So I think it's even, I also attended the last session and Claire was mentioning about zero waste making. So I think that is what we used to do in clothing, in costumes. We used to keep that in mind of using resources very judiciously and mindfully. So I think we need to keep learning from our traditional background, from our history. That's very important. And another thing which is last from my side is how we make our younger generation, like we are in fashion, we still are aware of, sustainability. But if you talk about a common man, I think there are many, many people who are not really aware of how fashion is impacting, the entire environment. So I think as Lindsey mentioned, and as Emanuela mentioned, and as Esben and Kirsti also mentioned, that how to embark this knowledge to young generation, like people at school. So I think that is where we all need to work upon. And again, thank you very, very much, all of you, to the participants also, to the conference organizers also. Thank you very much.